Hello and welcome everyone. You join me down at a local fishing complex called Meremoor Fisheries. I was meant to be coming down here to do a nice little feature video on the complex itself, talk about the lakes and show you hopefully one or two of the fish that reside here. Since then, the lads at the shop have decided to make it into a Mark Pictures-esque challenge. And going off my recent form in fishing and in videos doesn't bode that well. But they have challenged me in one day to catch a fish out of every lake on the complex. And what is more, I can't use the same rig twice to catch another fish. So here is my plan of action for this video. On the complex, there are actually 4 lakes. We're going to run this challenge to start with on just 3 lakes. Pool 1, Pool 2 and the Specimen Lake. Pool 1 is pretty much a match venue, but there's loads and loads of carp in here. There's some big ones as well. Then you've got Pool 2, which is also a match lake, but there's a lot of pleasure anglers that fish it. And then the Specimen Lake, obviously, is the Specimen Lake. So we're going to start with number 1. We're going to start on Pool 1 and get going. Pool 1 and Pool 2 are actually right next to each other. So if I play it right, I could actually fish on the crossroad and move between the two quite quickly. I think speed is of the essence for me today here. So we're going to start on Pool 1 and then we'll move to Pool 2 and then on to the Specimen Lake after that. The good news is I can already see fish in Pool 1 on the surface and in a corner as well. So without further ado, we get the rods out the car, get fishing, try and catch the first fish of the challenge. So here we are, Pool 1, massive drive, I know. We pulled up this little runway here because I've already seen some fish just in this little bay area here against some pads and in the corner, so I think that is my first port of call. So I'm going to get the rods out the car, get a couple of baits on really quick and drop some rigs in the edge and hopefully get my first fish of the challenge. Now, as great as this looks, it is really tempting, but floater fishing is banned on all the lakes. So this right here, I can't do anything about it whatsoever. Just got to stand here and watch him. It's great. Right, so tactics for the first fish and the first lake. On my rods, I've already got chod rigs set up. So for speed, I'm just going to go with this again. I'm going to change the actual chod rig itself. I'm going to leave everything else intact. So I'm going to show you quickly how I do that. So first one I'm going to do is take off the old chod rig I've got on there. The reason I'm taking this one off is because, to start with, it's a barbed hook and it's a bit too heavy because I want to use a smaller pop-up on it. So I'm just going to cut it off the swivel on the leader. The leader itself is actually a fluorocarbon leader down to a sliding chod kit with a little 1.5 to 2 ounce lead on a little C-clip in there. That's the setup there. So for the new chod, I'm going to take a size 7 barbless chod claw. The reason I like these hooks so much, especially in the barbless, because they have a beak point. If I'm using a barbless hook, I like a beak point. I just feel I get that extra hold in the fish's mouth. Also, on these particular chods, the eyes are bigger than a normal hook on purpose, so you can still get your bristle filament through 3 times on the chod. That's why I like them so much. So I'm going to get one of those. I'm going to take off a section of chod filament, if we can find it. It's actually the 30-pound chod link, just because I like it super stiff. No other reason than that, really. Take off a length and get my chod hook front to back, like so, leaving enough so you can make a D for the chod. To take it around the shank 4 times, then back through the eye again. Use the scissor handle, that's what I do anyway. Pull it nice and tight, like so. And then we need a little mini ring. Normally I would use a bait screw, but because I'm going to be fishing a little 12mm pop-up, I don't need the extra weight of the bait screw on the chod, so I need as little weight as possible. Just going to slide that ring on there like so. Now a little tip for the chod ties out there, trim your filament off at a bit of an angle so it will poke back through the eye easier still. Like so. So that goes back through your eye like that. And then you need to blob it down a bit. So I'm going to fold that back out the way, cover all the important stuff up. I'm going to trim that down a little bit more. Take your lighter, if your lighter wants to work, blob it, push it flat. You have one chod section ready to go. Simple as that. So I'm going to use the tungsten swivel bead, thread that up like that. Onto your swivel. Figure out how long you want it. I don't want it too long. I don't know if it's weedy. I have no idea what the bottom is made of. Partially why I'm using a chod. Figure out the desired length like that. Dead simple, 3-turn knot on there. Keep on hooking myself. Because the filament's so thick, you do want a big thick knot. There. Moisten it down. Pull it all nice and tight. Trim tag end. You can blob that tag end as well if you want to for a bit of extra peace of mind. Pull the bead down over the eye, and that is your chod rig ready to go. All you need to do now really is put your pop-up on and make it a better shape in theory. So if you warm it up with your fingers like that, you can then start to twist it and get it into the shape that you want it. I like mine something just like that. Right, pop-up time. So pop-up wise, I love a yellow pop-up. It's my favourite colour. Everyone has their own favourite colour that you always start with. So a little 12mm Scopex squid pop-up onto the bait needle like so. Bait floss. As I say, I normally use a bait screw, so I just prefer them, but with the weight of the pop-up, bait floss and a rig ring you cannot really beat. Floss through the ring. Pull the pop-up down right onto the O-ring. Trim off bait floss and then change your lighter for a different one. Get out a proper lighter. That is one little chod rig ready to go. And you get this one out and then tie up the second one. Let's go. So the first one is going to go right in this corner here where all these fish have been just milling round. Don't know how deep it is on the fish there. And I'll get the other one tied up and get it over to the right hand side here. Let's try and get this one in nice and quietly. It's actually a really firm drop. Trying to let that line sink right down. And then we'll tighten it up on the actual alarm itself. Nice slack line. And she's rocking. Let's leave that one there, get the other one sorted. Right, that's both rods in, ready to go. While they're doing their thing, I'm going to get a rig prepared for pool 2. I'm probably going to go with PVA bag, so let's show you how to get one of those done. So we're ready to go as soon as we get our first fish off here. Right, so now those 2 rods are in and fishing, we're going to get some PVA bags prepared for Lake 2. I think it might be good tactic on there. I've never fished Lake 2 before, but where I'm looking right now, there is a fish fizzing. So I'm going to get some little PVA bags tied. Dead simple, dead easy, nothing complicated. I'm even using the same hook as before. All I've done on this though, as it's an outturned eye on a chod hook, I've taken a pair of pliers, grabbed hold of the eye and then made it an in-turned eye. Doesn't really affect the strength of the hook whatsoever, especially where we're fishing now. I mean, if I was fishing for 50 pounds, I probably wouldn't do it, but for the sake of what we're doing now, works perfectly fine. So I've turned it into an in-turned eye, size 7, chod claw. All I'm going to do, 15-pound armour link, standard braid, cut off a healthy section. In the end of that, I'm going to tie a little overhand knot for the hair. Just like that. Trim that tag end off. Little 12mm pop-up, you could use fake corn in this, you could use absolutely anything you want. Little 12mm pop-up. And we need a bait stop, wherever they're hiding. Little bait stop. Plonk that in there like so. Onto the rig itself. So I like to keep the pop-up lined up with the curve of the hook there. So I'll take that, I'm going to wrap this round till I reach the point of the hook. About 10 or 11 turns, something like that. And back round. Like so. Dead simple, dead straightforward, just like that. And then I like my rigs on a PVA bag to be about 3.5 to 4 inches. So fold the braid over, and then I'm going to tie a figure of 8 loop knot in here. Like that. Use a puller tool or whatever you need. Loosen it down, pull it tight. Trim that tag end. That is a little PVA bag rig ready to go. The only thing we need to add on there is a counterbalance for the pop-up. In a PVA bag, I just use a standard little split shot. I normally go for something heavier in the bag just so it really pins that hook bait in there. That'll be hidden with all the pellets and stuff anyway. So that'll sit just out the PVA bag, ready to go. Right, onto the PVA bag itself. So I'm actually going to put this on a little clinged on lead that I've pre-tied up. really, really short, just big enough for it to go inside the PVA bag and to stick out the top. On there I've got a size 8 double ring swivel and just a leg clip tail rubber on there. So lead choice for PVA bags, a little inline lead obviously. I quite like these little Fox 2 ounces square inlines. They seem to be cheap enough, and obviously on a PVA bag you're going to be dropping a lead pretty much all the time as well. So they seem to be cheap enough and they do the job well anyway. So a little lead there. What we're going to do first is attach our actual rig to the leader. So as you see there, I've got the Klingon attached on one of the rings. Swivel is free. I'm going to attach the rig onto the other ring. Goes through the ring. Pop up, rig, etc. Goes through there. So that there, so it's all joined up with the swivel just hanging in bounce. Take your lead, sometimes you have to crimp the swivel down a little bit just to make it fit. So tiniest little bit of the pair of pliers, just a tiny amount, and that'll slide in there like so. Pass it back over the back lead. These Fox leads have a nice little groove on the back of them as well. The leader will sit in, which is quite nice. Tail rubber goes on like so. And that is it. That's the little rig. That's going to all go inside the PVA bag, which we will do now. You own time. Come on, cameraman. Well, it didn't take that long, thank God. One we put right down in the margin right next to us. It's gone and it's in the net. Whew. Well, that didn't take too long at all, did it? Let's be honest. It's exactly what we needed. Hook has even come out in the net, which is nice. Get that out of the way. Like a nice little mirror, maybe £10. So we'll get it out, get it on the mat, show you the fish, and then get moved on to pool 2. Happen nice and quick. It's cold. That's really cold. Oh Lord. Well, here we go then. The first prize of the day. I don't know, was it in the water for 10 minutes or so, something like that. Rudely interrupted getting the rigs ready for pool 2. It was never going to be a massive fish out of pool 1, let's be honest. It's already soaked me once. Just want to hold you up for the camera, mate, that's it. Just play the game. There, that's it. Not quite £10, chod rig, 12mm little pop-up. Just going again, I can feel it tensing up then. Right, we're going to get this back in the water before it causes me any more mither. And get on to pool 2. Hopefully we'll go up in size as we move through the lakes as well. We'll get some PVA bags on, get them in pool 2, see how that works out for us. But we're off the mark, first fish. Mirror pool 1 mirror. Lovely. Well, as we were so rudely interrupted by our first fish doing our PVA bag, it's time to carry on doing it. So, a bit of a tip for you out there. This is on the Nashi water box range, it's a water box 125. I keep all my PVA stuff in here. It's watertight, keeps everything nice and dry, everything stays in there, nothing falls out. So in it, we've got a mix of small pellets, little 2 millers and some 4 millers as well, a little mix of those. Keep my PVA tape in there, keep my PVA bags and the zip bit at the top, keep some hemp oil in there, everything ready to go, and that just stays in my barrow at all times if I ever need a PVA bag. So there's the rig that we tied just before, ow, there's the rig we tied before. I'm going to use a small PVA bag, don't want a lot of bait out there, just need the attraction, just need the bite, so a small PVA bag. So what we do is, blow it open a little bit so it creates the big gap in the PVA bag like that. I use a bit of cultured stick mix in there, just to line the bottom of the bag, just a little bit. Like so, sprays out to the corners, and that just keeps the hook point safe and gives a little bit more attraction in the bag as well. So then we're going to get our hook bait, lower that down, and I sort of grip the lead with the top of the bag like that. And while you're doing that, work that rig right into the bottom. Now if I was using this for casting a long way, I'd probably put the lead in first so it's front weighted. But as I'm not going very far, that's perfectly fine. So now the pop-up and the pop-up weight are down right at the bottom of the bag in the stick mix. I'm going to start filtering in some pellets. Now, filling bags can be quite messy when you use it over a water box like this. Obviously, you're not losing any pellets on the ground or on your knee and your bivvy or anything. It's all falling back into the box. Once you've got the bag about half full, get the lead and just sort of dig it right into the middle of the pellets like that, and then more pellets again. Fill it up till you're covering the lead and you've got about an inch to work with at the top. I then grab it all like that, tap it on the hand, work all those pellets down, and you're left with about 1.5 inch space at the top. Here comes the tricky bit. PVA tape. Like that. You can lick it and wrap it round like some people do. I just like to use PVA tape, to be fair. So now you want to gather all of that material up at the top there. And twist it around a little bit. And then there's no way to explain the best way to do this. I just sort of wrap the PVA tape around the bag, like so. It's harder to do when you're trying to do it on camera as well. Nice little knot just to secure it. Couple of overhand knots. One more for good luck. And she's good to go. From there, trim off the PVA tag ends, tidy it up around the top of the leader. Like so. Probably don't need to lick and stick the corners, we're not fishing very far out. Push the corners in, like so. Give them a lick. Tuck them down. And you got one little PVA bag ready to go. Hook bait in there, the lot. That'll still cast a fair distance. We're not casting very far today, obviously, but it still will cast away. So all I'm going to do for today now is get the rod that had the chod rig on, move everything up out the way. I'd probably take more time on this if I had more time, but I haven't. So I'm just going to slide the chod rig off. I'm left with the fluorocarbon leader that I had on before.
Tie a figure of 8 loop knot in that. Pull it down nice and tight. And then we'll just loop to loop this PVA bag on. There. PVA bag back through. And that then is ready to go out. All good, ready to go. I've still got the top bead on from a chod rig as well, which actually helped to weigh it down a little bit. But that, in fairness, is ready to go out. The last thing I'm going to do before I cast it out, squeeze a little bit of hemp oil in there for extra attraction. So just using the bottle in the top. Give it a good squeeze. And that there, hemp oil ready to go in the water, and hopefully get another quick fish. So let's get it in there. Right, on to pull 2. I can't get a bank stick in the ground to save my life. That'll do, sort of. No, it won't. I just need to find some ground to stick a bank stick in. That'll do. That sort of works. So, PVA bags on this lake, the fish are feeding right in front of me. Get a rig in. Hopefully it won't be long on here. Then we can get onto the proper lake, the Specimen lake. Don't get me wrong, the fish in this lake still go up to early 20s, I think they go up into here, 20, 21, 22. So still definitely worthwhile catching. But I love the Specimen lake at this venue, so I want to get another one here really quickly, and then we can hightail it over there, get the barrow out, and try and catch something a bit special. PVA bags going in, fish fizzing everywhere, so fingers crossed it won't be that long on this lake either, but we'll see. Right, first PVA bag is now out, second one's about to go out as well. I'm not fishing very far out at all. I can see a load of fish fizzing up in this sort of band across here in front of me, so I'm just sort of trying to pick my target area, if you like, and then I'll flick it out, and it looks like it's going to go about there. Going right there. It's quite deep there as well, probably about 6 foot so, but that's where it's going. Sink the line nice and gently so we don't pull the PVA bag apart. Now onto the janky alarm setup. There she is, ready to rock. Both rods out, both PVA bags out. Hopefully we'll get a quick bite here. Well, it was a bit of an eruption and a bit of a mess, to be honest. I just got the right hand rod in to put a new bag out over by the island. I saw a load of fizzing up on the left hand spot where the left hand bag was. Went to put the bag on, the left hand has busted off. GoPro didn't record, and that's where we're up to right now. So got another fish in the bag, off a PVA bag, Lake 2 completed. Probably about the same size as the last one as well, to be honest. There are definitely bigger ones in here. My luck, I'm catching the small ones. Crazy, crazy little fin just here. It's like he's got a little spear sticking out of him. Crazy little dorsal. It's definitely an old warrior, this one, that's for certain. Mental little fish. Probably as old as the hills, this one. Excuse the tractor going past. Probably as old as the hills, this one. Cool little fish. It is a fish though, and that is Lake 2, ticked off the challenge. Specimen Lake left. We're going to head over there in a second, get the barrow out and go for a trek round, try and stalk some carp out. Dropping little traps in the margin, using a baiting pole, and any other tactics we can think of that we haven't already used. So that's a chod rig gone and a PVA bag gone. See what else we can muster up on the Specimen Lake, shall we, eh? For now, let's slip this one back and get moving. Right, so we've arrived at the Specimen Lake. It's just behind me, behind these trees. It's actually quite busy today. I reckon there's about 6 or 7 anglers on, which does make it more difficult for us to try and find a few fish. Other side of that, the fish in here don't like pressure too much, so wherever there's going to be no anglers, probably where the fish are going to be. So we're going to have a bit of a walk around first with the old Polaroids on first, see what we can see if we can find any fish, and then get the barrow out, work off the barrow, see if we can nick a bite. That's the plan. Can be a bit moody, this lake, but at the same time it can do a few bites, so got to see how it's going to work. Let's go for a walk around, see what we can see. So we've made it onto the Specimen Lake. Just trying to stay really quiet. We're not actually fishing just here, we're going to be fishing a little bit further up the bank there, but we're in one of the top corners of the Specimen Lake where the fish really push up here when there's a bit of pressure on the lake. I can hear a mallet going off and a bivvy as well down the other end. So the fish definitely push up here. So we're going to stay nice and quiet. Going to drop a couple of rigs in using the baiting pole. It's not very far, but I want to make no disturbance whatsoever. So there's a little hole just in the tree behind me over there. It's a really, really good little spot. A little bit further up there's another one as well, so I'm going to drop a couple of rigs in here, stay really quiet, probably go with something like drop off in line with a little cultured bottom bait or a snowman or something like that, and just drop them in there, then come and sit well back, and hopefully should get a bite quite quickly, normally how it happens up this top end. And then we're going to move around the other side if that's not working and try and get one around there. So without further ado, let's get the barrel unloaded, get a few bits of tackle ready and get some rigs in the water. Right, so here we are then, the rig is ready to be deployed. It's pretty standard, to be fair. I'll leave a link in the description of how to tie this section of it. Lead clip set up on leadless leader with a 3-ounce flat pair lead, semi-stiff skin link, and then down to my slip D Ronnie claw on the end with the yellow mulb. Pretty standard for me. I did a blog on this rig not too long ago, so that'll be linking down in the description for you. But that's it, quite a short boom, 6 inches or so. I'm going to ship this out with a baiting pole with a bit of flake and just try and get a quick bite, and then we'll get the other rod set up on a bottom bait or something like that, just to put something a bit different. Just fish the 2 rods up this corner, stay nice and quiet, and hopefully we'll nick a bite. So let's get this out with a baiting pole. So I'm just getting the baiting pole prepped. Key with the baiting pole is preparation. You don't want to start sticking the individual sections together while trying to get your rig out. You need to get as many sections set up in a go as possible. So I'm going to do 4 sections at a time, like that. I'm going to do another 4 just in case. That way, when you're shipping the bait out, you've only got 2 or 3 joins to worry about, so you can concentrate on actually getting your rig out there. And then finally, get them pointed towards your spot already, so you're not twisting poles around or anything like that. So I know, for instance, it's going to be going over there, so I'm going to get it lined up, ready to go. It's all in a straight line, just need to get some bait in there in the rig and we're done. Right, so getting the pole out, firstly you can put a bit of bait in there, got a bit of flake, some 6mm pellets and a couple of boilies. I'm literally putting a tiny amount in, like a little small handful, no more. Gonna follow that in with a rig. Lead goes at the back. Rig going up at the front like that. And then in here I've got a mix of Scopex squid syrup and hot tuna syrup as well. So that there is ready to go. Now it's just a matter of getting it out there. Ship it out nice and slowly.
So the rods have been in these spots for about 20 minutes now, maybe 15, 20 minutes. The left-hand rod, this one has been completely obliterated by about 4 coots, so I don't have a lot of faith in that one anymore. Right hand one is still fishing, but I had a bit of a walk around the corner up there and saw a really nice mid-20 common just chilling. So I trickled a bit of flake in with some other little bits and pieces and pellets that were in my bucket. Left that for about 10 minutes, I've just walked back round there again now, and they're on the spot. And there's a few more fish there as well. So I'm going to get these 2 in, take this one rod round there, drop it in the edge and just sit there for 10 minutes and see what happens. If nothing materialises there, I'm thinking about heading over to the other side anyway. If you can get a really good angle on the fish that are on the pads there and maybe do a washing line setup or something like that and try and get one out that way. But yeah, that's the plan. So let's go and do a bit of stalking. I've simply got 3-ounce flat pair swivel to about 7 or 8 inches of armour link with a long shank slip D-rig with a boilie out of the bag and a screw-in fake bit of corn on top, just a bit of a sight stop. I'm going to drop this in, see what we do. Well, took a little while, took a move and a bit of bait, a lot of weed and my other line. Wow, it's a lot of weed. Job done. Challenge complete. Home time. Oh, look at the state of this one. I'll tell you what, it certainly isn't the biggest in the lake by any stretch, but I'll go as definitely far as to say it's probably one of the oldest. Look at the state of that. Look at the absolute state of that thing. This to me is a proper carp. So obviously it's really warm today, so fish care, especially when they're as old as this one here, is really important. So I've got the mat lifted up on my knees so it's holding water. So it's actually sitting in a puddle right now so we can keep it damp. That's really important. Never put fish on a warm mat, dry mat, especially in the heat. This one has got a bit of a belly on it. Not sure if it's a female or if it's just a little fat one, but it's an absolute banger. I'm so happy to catch this little fish. I remember this fish from years ago. I'm sure I've had it before, but it's a crazy fish. Really old one. The markings on it are incredible. We'll get some close-up shots of it. It's a proper bit of me, this is. A proper bit of me. Little old scaly wrinkled fins, weathered sides, dents and bruises. His mouth ain't in the best of shape. It's all old damage though. Look at the state of that. What an incredible little carp that is. I'm almost happier catching that than a pristine 20-pound common, if I'm honest. Perfect fish in my eyes. This one fell to a little trap with a rig on that I've been trying recently, made of Nash Triggalink. It's like a Triggalink combi rig.
with a cultured bottom bait on it, quite a heavy lead. And this was doing what I thought was liners for about 3 minutes before it actually went off. But thinking back now, the fish could have actually been sat there with the rig in its mouth, because the Triggalink wouldn't let it drop the rig whatsoever. It would just sitting there trying to get rid of it. So it could well have been that. It could have been the Triggalink that's actually kept this fish on for me, and it's got to the point where it's realised it ain't going to get away, so it's bolted. Quite possible, but the rig definitely works. I'll show you it in a little while. But that's it. We're going to get it back because it is quite warm. Absolutely buzzing with that one. Absolutely made up. The move has paid off. Now we've come round to the other side, which again we'll talk about in a minute. Yeah, challenge complete. Fish from every lake, apart from the little one in the back there. Don't think we're going to fish that one. So a fish from every lake. Mega happy. Let's get it back. Get the rod back on the spot as well. Buzzing. So I told you I'd show you the rig that I just caught that amazing little scaly fish on, and this is it right here. Standard leg clip set up that end. It's got a 3-ounce lead in there at the minute, but the important bit is this here. So I've been playing around with Nash's Triggalink. I used it years ago when it first came out. Didn't like it because it was quite bright. It's not a dull braid whatsoever. But I thought I'd give it a go again, have a play. So I made like a little combi rig out of it. So you can see the dark section there, which is a Triggalink. And then just here I've got normal armour link just there, which is all bright knotted to the Triggalink with like a little tungsten weight just over the knot. Not because I use it as a pop-up, but because I use a bottom bait or a wafter bait. That tungsten shot just helps bring the point home when the fish picks the rig up. On the hook itself is a little slip D with a bait screw on there at the minute. I've got a cultured bottom bait with one of the new screw-in plastic sweet corns from Nash on the top, just as a bit of a sight stop. The important bit's the Triggalink. So that's how long the rig is normally. Now Triggalink, the secret is when it gets wet, it recoils itself and it's springy. So when it gets wet, it shrinks down in size. And that means when the fish picks it up, there's a bungee effect to it like that, which means that when the fish is holding the rig, if it tries to shake its head, that bungee effect of that Triggalink takes away all the shock out of the lead, so it can't use the lead to dump the hook. And I think there's a chance that might have been what happened with that fish, as I said when I was holding it up. Some very weird liners going on. I wasn't quite sure what was happening. The rod tip was clunking, the bobbin was knocking up and down, and it could well have been the fish was holding it, shaking it, trying to get rid of the lead and couldn't. So then it's bolted when it figured out it was in a tight spot and couldn't go anywhere. Might be, we'll never know obviously, but that might have been the case. But yeah, that's the rig. It's done the bite. On an old fish as well that probably is a bit wary. I don't know. It's given me a bit of confidence in it though, and that the bungee effect of the actual Triggalink itself definitely causes a few problems for when a carp picks up the bait. Just that new little bit of something different for the carp to worry about instead of the usual Ronnies and blowback rigs and stuff. So yeah, that's the rig. That did the bite. I'm going to get it back out on the spot now. The challenge is complete, but it's a nice afternoon. Why not try and catch a couple more out of this lake? They're in this corner. It's worth another couple of shots, isn't it? Try and catch something a bit bigger. So yeah, I'm going to get it back on the spot again. I'll put a bit more flake in where it was, and I'm going to go and drop it in now and see if we can get another one. So since I caught that little scaly fish, nothing's really happened, to be fair. The fish seem to have pushed out of this corner a bit, gone back round the other side again. I could probably move around there and be within a chance of one of them, but I've moved quite a lot today, and there is still the odd fish milling around through this end. I think the move was worth it though. Obviously we started out over the other side where we baiting poled those two rigs over. We spent about half an hour there or so, and then saw a lot of fish around this side, moved around here and caught that one. So it was definitely the right thing to do. However, the day is now drawing on and it's getting towards home time. So I'm going to stay for another 20 minutes or so, and I think it's time to pack up and go home. But as far as the challenge is concerned, challenge complete. Mere more fisheries, one fish off each of the main lakes. Job done. Caught that first one off pool 1, then that little one with a weird fin off pool 2, and then that amazing little scaly banger off the Specimen lake. So really, really happy. Yes, it would have been nice to catch something bigger because there's definitely bigger fish in all 3 lakes, but I'm not arguing. All 3 pretty little fish.
and they do the job for the day as well. So really, really happy with that. So I think it's time for me to sign off for the day. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.